Cocktails and Comics, activate. Shape up. Indie quick hitter review, Batman.
Press the button that says connect the video.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, that's him. Yeah. He's got to put his pants on.
Pants on? I gotta take my pants off.
What's up, comic fans? Welcome to Cocktails and Comics. This is a quick hitter. We're going to talk about some big books that came out this week, some big indie books, some big books from some people that we are absolute fans of. I was going to say fans that we're people of, but I corrected myself, but I'll let you guys know. I tell the truth here. I was going to F up that line anyway. So anyway, we got the crew here with me. Say what's up, fellas.
What's going on?
All right. And in case you don't know who's who, that's Nick. Nick, I know on your screen it's different, but on my screen, you're there. Justin's down there. And then Eric's that way.
Save the robots.
There we go. And all right, gentlemen, you know the first question of the evening. What are we drinking tonight? Hey, Nick, I heard you had something special tonight.
My buddy Justin got some monkey shoulder. So cheap, so good. So.
And yes, congratulations, Justin. We won't tell you on what, but congratulations. Salute.
Mazel.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Eric, what are you drinking tonight?
Save the robots. East Coast IPA from Radiant Pig. Woo-hoo.
Nice. I'll tell you what I'm drinking. I got some Flying Fish extra pale ale. Yeah, it's the extra pale ale. I bought a variety pack, so I wasn't sure which one I pulled out of the box. And our man of the hour, Justin, what are you drinking tonight?
All right, in celebration of Nocterra's release, I am drinking Terramana, which is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's new tequila. So this is the Reposado, which is a very good sipping tequila.
Sweet.
Sponsorship coming.
So, yeah, we're going to talk about these books behind us. We got Nocterra and Brzrkr that came out this week. Eric with the awesome Nocterra background there. So these are the books. Now, some of y'all, well, all of y'all got the Nocterra Kickstarter. There it goes. So dope book. I don't think any of them have opened it yet. I don't blame them.
We were all shrink wrapped.
All shrink wrapped. They came with some cool prints. If anybody wants to Vanna White that. And I believe each book, even though they're still shrink wrapped or autographed inside, I believe it's on the interior cover. So if you do ever open them, you will see that they are autographed inside. And I did see them on the street. I believe you guys did like probably 50 for the Kickstarter. I've seen them go for 100 on the street. I did not order one. I'm not getting one, but I got my books. All right. We're going to start off with Brzrkr. This is the one per store variant. This one is popping off pretty well on the secondary market, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is what's going on the inside of that book. So, in case you didn't know, Mr. Keanu Reeves himself wrote that book. He's come up a few times on this channel, right? He's, we're still debating whether he's a ballerina or not, but he had his writer work with him, Matt Kint, who probably is the guy who put the script together and probably, fleshed it out more or less. But Matt Kint had a couple of big books out this week, including Fear Case and ENIAC. And yeah, some big books. So he had a big week. So go ahead and pop the bubbly, Mr. Kint. You had a big week. And then you had Ron Garney on the interior and Bill Crabtree did the colors. Raphael Grandpa was on the cover.
Which confused the hell out of me because I kept seeing on the solicits the grandpa cover. I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, oh, it's grandpa. It's a person's name. I was like, well, I was expecting the old man cover.
Right. So, and that cover is actually, if you look, he did the 1 in 10, I want to say. Basically the same kind of layout, except the smoke in the back is dirt. It's like brown, and he doesn't have arrows in his arm. So it's kind of those what's different kind of scenarios where they put the two similar looking pictures and they're like, what's not the same in between these two?
like an episode of Highlights.
Right. Exactly. So let's crack into this book. Let's talk about it. Let's start with the writing. Nick, why don't you tell us a little something about this book? Because we know you are a big Keanu Reeves fan. So what did it?
If you don't like John Wick, I have a problem with you. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, it was awesome. It literally made my Friday morning, and my Friday was a shit day at work. So, it just read like a Keanu Reeves, like very John Wicky, where he doesn't really talk a lot, but it was a good inner monologue. It was just like an action movie. I loved it. I'm ready for number 2.
There you go. Good synopsis. Let's go, Eric.
As I read it, I was thinking Nick is going to love this book.
Right?
Can we just before we continue Berserker, Eric and my relationship has improved greatly over this. I think we can say that.
It's because you're confined to the internet.
Oh yeah, it's a lot to live up to, man.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a book for people who love the gore and the violence. Like, it is super violent. As brains everywhere and hearts being ripped out and more skull fractures than you can count on both hands. And it's an interesting inversion of the usual hero story. It's usually all about trying to find immortality, and spoiler alert, it's about somebody who is immortal who just wants to be mortal, and that's kind of an interesting turn of events that we're seeing some complexity to that usually not very nuanced story.
It's true. And Justin, go ahead and finish this off.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Brzrkr was actually the one comic that I didn't pick up because I wasn't able to stop by my LCS this week.
There you go.
So I am in the dark, Nocterra style.
So that's
but that's definitely on my list. I was gonna go with the Kickstarter, but I kind of had to choose between Nocterra or Brzrkr.
Yeah.
And I
did too.
Play for Scott Snyder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said Keanu doesn't need my money.
It's true. Like, why was it a Kickstarter in the first place?
Yeah, this dude can fucking finance an entire publishing house. Doesn't need me to help get his comic book printed.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if he wanted to make John Wick 4 just out of his bank account, I'm pretty sure he could. So.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't wait for that.
But for you, Justin, don't worry. There's 50,000 covers of this, so you will be able to find one of these.
You'll get your own grandpa cover.
Yeah, and even if you can't, if you go to Newberry Comics, which is a corporate comic book store, they were selling the 1 in 25 for $8 or something like that. So if they haven't bought it out, you should be able to snag one, because they're literally, because they did the 1 in 1,000 for this, guys, in case you don't know. And if you bought the 1 in 1,000, it got CGC'd and signed by Keanu Reeves.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think they sold it for less than 2 G's, but any store that ordered it obviously bought it probably for, I don't know what the prices are, honestly, coming from the factory, from the warehouse, but I can't imagine it was less than 500 for a 1 in 1,000. Plus, well, whatever the cost was to buy 1,000.
Because they had to buy 1,000 copies.
So you have to buy 1,000 cover A's.
Yeah.
So that's clearly less, more than what I just quoted. It's probably about $2 an issue or something. I don't know. I don't own a store, so yeah, they probably bought it for around 2 G's. So, yeah. So anybody who got one of these, you contributed to that 1 in 1,000 if it was Midtown Comics or any of those places. And now there's 100 1 in 100s out there and 20 1 in 50s per store. So these books are going to be not expensive for a while. We're talking I was going to say X-Men numbers, but nothing will ever come close to it. All right. But just my quick 2 cents, throw it in there. Yeah, awesome book. Started out very John Wick-esque with the him sitting on a bench, punching people in the head.
Sad Keanu on the first page. So I was sold on that, and then my interest waxed and waned over the course of the issue.
Right. Or what was that movie where he sat on a bench waiting for mail with what's her face from Speed, and she like they open.
Oh god, I know the lake house or something.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
Lake
yeah. Is that the time travel one?
Time travel.
Yeah.
It's not that book though, guys. But yeah, no, it was good. It had enough gore. If you like The Walking Dead, it had Walking Dead-esque gore. Like some of those scenes were very reminiscent of what you'd see in that book. Yeah, just all around good book. I think everybody here said something that I would have said, and I can't say it anymore because it's all been covered. So good job, guys. Let's move on to the art. Justin, you are not on this one, but do you like the cover?
I'll just drink.
Keep drinking.
But Eric, let's talk about the art.
Yeah, I think the art was probably my favorite part about the book overall. I feel like it's very gory. Kind of like walking desk. Looking at my desk, talking about walking. It's got that kind of more vibe. But nice and gritty. Some really high contrast lines, and fits with the style of the storytelling pretty well. And for 3/4 of the book, that's what's sort of driving it. It's just sort of this overriding conversation monologue that's happening elsewhere, that's underscoring this very long action sequence. So the art has to keep your interest, otherwise like I would have been completely checked out halfway through the book. So that's testament to some good artistic storytelling.
I just want to add, I wasn't as familiar with Ron Garney before I read this book, but now I think I will familiarize myself more with him. I know I've seen him do a few covers and stuff. I was always like, oh, that's cool. To see him do a full book with interiors, I think is really made me more aware of who he is. Before this book, I was like, oh, Ron Garney. Okay. But now I'm like, oh, Ron Garney did that. I got to check it out. Nick?
It kind of reminded me a little bit of, anyone read that Romita Batman Punisher crossover, like the drawings of it? It kind of reminded me. But it was definitely I like the use of the colors and stuff. You could like the blood pop, we'll just say. It definitely conveyed action movie, if you will. The detail of like guns and the actual combat itself was pretty good too.
Yeah. I think all that. And I know we said it before, but on the cover A, this is Raphael Grandpa. So this is not a Ron Garney cover. This is Raphael Grandpa. And I think even the cover is pretty cool. I didn't like it at first. I think when I first saw it on the internet, and then I saw it in person, and I was like, I can dig it. I can totally dig it. And so, I think the art really did lend itself to the book. And I think I noticed it even more when I read it the second time. I was like, this art really fits the style. It's nice and gritty, but the colors really pop, and it really adds a lot to the book. So I think it's very sparse in terms of the writing, right? Like there's some pages that maybe have like 3 lines or something like that. So even if the writing doesn't necessarily tell you the story, the art is clearly leading you through the story. I think we find out more about the character through the art than the actual words in the book. So
I feel like there's a good synergy to your point.
Yeah.
With the art and the storyteller.
Right. And I forget who did this cover, but I think this cover is actually pretty dope too. And Mark Brooks. You know how I know? Because of the glossiness on the color side. That is clearly a Mark Brooks book. All right. So let's final words, guys. Anybody want to chime in with anything last they want to say about Brzrkr?
It was great.
I hope this series is awesome, and I hope they make a movie and Keanu Reeves plays this character in the movie.
It'll just be like John Wick 5.5 or something. Like,
so what? He could be 70, and I'll watch it.
I feel like every character from here on out that Keanu Reeves has anything to do with is going to be this guy.
I mean, if you watch John Wick 3, he can't run. He's like 60. He's like humbling around.
I do can appreciate his hair though for 60. He still has some nice flowing locks. All right, moving on. Wait, Eric, did you have anything last to say? Or are you good?
I was just gonna say that I enjoyed it, but don't think it was my favorite of the number ones that came out this week.
Gotcha. And which is, it's true. I think a lot of people were hoping Berserker would be or a lot of people put a lot of hope in Berserker. And then a lot of people got this book right here, Nocterra. This is cover B. This is the Jock cover. I don't know who did Nick's cover. That's a pretty cool cover. And then you got your
Jorge Jimenez.
Oh, the Jorge Jimenez, right? And then you got your cover.
Yeah,
A.
I got the Virgin, I think.
No, there's words.
That's not the Virgin.
Yeah, I just said I got that.
But there was actually a secret variant to the cover A, and she actually this mask she's wearing over her mouth. So if you see one where her mouth is covered with a mask, that is the secret variant of that book. So let's get into Nocterra by Scott Snyder. Tony Daniels, a nice comic veteran, is doing the artwork. I don't think you can see his name because it's covered by this light. And then Tomu Moray did the coloring. And don't worry, you'll be able to see that when it's blown up in 1080p on somebody's 72-inch television. Or not. So I have hopes and dreams that there's like really affluent people watching this.
Anyway. The family, we're putting it on the projector.
All right. Anyway, guys, let's get into the writing. Justin, did you read this one?
I read this one.
All right.
Justin. If he didn't, I don't know why he logged into this call.
I thought this was my Alcoholics Anonymous. Sorry, wrong
like
one.
The NBA analyst who's on the NFL portion of the show, and he's just got to sit there with his listening pace like this.
I really
so
hope
now you're supposed to talk about something.
Oh, he's choking on his whiskey. I was hoping he'd come in with like the slide whistle. So every time somebody said something. Yeah, exactly. All right.
All right, I'll start off. Nocterra, I really enjoyed it. I feel like this one just really tried to set up the background information on everything. So that I have a lot of questions going into number 2, number 3, number 4. And I think that's Snyder's kind of wheelhouse of just trying to rope you in and slowly building up the story, kind of giving it a little more depth. If I could ask for anything more, is that I would have liked to see a little more action, kind of like show me a little more of the suspense side with it, especially because I was loving Tony Daniels' work on so far what he put out there. So I'm like, this right now is like my hope and joy, because I really hope that it takes on like 10 levels from what I just read in the first one.
Yeah, it was definitely a good start, but I can understand wanting more action. Mm-hmm. Nick, what do you think about the writing?
I actually like the writing. Thought he kind of wasn't. Sometimes he gets a little wordy, in my opinion. Scott Snyder. I'll disagree. For first issue, me, the action junkie out of all of us in comics, I like the action. I thought it was pretty good. I'm really rooting for him. I think to Will's point, he made a couple of cocktails of comics ago. I think he just ran his course at DC and just got a little too ridiculous and convoluted. So it's nice to see him like doing his own thing. And I'm rooting for him because if this thing pops, he's got his own comic publishing company, and then there'll be more stuff under the Scott Snyder umbrella. And I'm here for it. Again, anything he writes, I'll buy. Anything.
Which is interesting that you said that, because I thought like since he had his own umbrella, they'd put like something here, whatever it was like black suit or whatever his label was, black jacket.
I think it is.
And doesn't
S jacket.
Yeah, and it doesn't say it anywhere on the comic. Eric, what were your thoughts?
Yeah. I agree. It was surprisingly lean for a Snyder book, but I think he's the classic manipulator of stories that he'll drop just enough to get you interested. He builds fantastic worlds, so I'm here for whatever this strange dystopian future is. I'm kind of over the whole dystopian thing. Yeah, I bailed on Undiscovered Country, actually, even though I do love Snyder. I just bailed on that book because I was like, I'm over. Like, we're living through a pandemic. I don't need to fucking deal with other people's bullshit. But I like this. There was a lot of interesting new elements, some interesting character designs that they came up with, especially that mystery man who's on our protagonist's tail that came in at the end. So the twist at the end of it was fairly well telegraphed, I think, from the beginning. Like, we knew that there was something not kosher about that whole situation, but yeah, I'm hyped for issue 2, and I'll definitely be following this one. And yeah, if this becomes like the Snyderverse, totally down with that. That's great.
Yeah. I thought the writing was good. It was great, actually. This book, actually, at the end of it, I was like, yes, Snyder, yes, finally. Like, yes, I'm back.
Totally with you. 100%.
I was like, please, and I read it, and I'm like, finally, because I think this is right in his wheelhouse. I think he does really good with horror, and I think he does really good with like sci-fi, and he's kind of blending them. And I think this is something that he can write without being wacky. Like, he doesn't have to add the Justice League element to it. You know, he doesn't have to add Wonder Woman or like, there's nobody with superpowers. This is a world where the danger is the characters, right? Like, that's the main villain for now, is the world he's living in. And, you know, I think he works well when he doesn't have to deal with superhumans, when he could just deal with the human element and touch upon the frailty of the human, as opposed to like these superpowered beings who, you know, it's a different aspect. It takes a lot more to hurt those guys. So
I think he also deals better with his own characters, like, rather than trying to pull a Grant Morrison and be like, what obscure bullshit C-list character can I bring out here and suddenly try and make relevant? It's like, I get it, but you don't need to do that all the time.
Which I totally agree with you, right? And I think some of the best stories he told about Batman were the ones he made his own. The ones that kind of.
That's why Court of Owls is so fucking fantastic. It's like,
right.
Because this is like his legit. This is my imprint. This is my Batman horror story, and it fucking worked.
It's because he's getting to play with his own toys, as opposed to predetermined and already set up, established characters where it's kind of like you're in the confinements of, oh, this is already what they went through, and this is where I kind of have to keep them.
Yeah.
When you have that free range, that's Snyder's thing. You know what I mean? He has that imagination and creativity where he can just kind of expand and go wherever he wants. And he likes to push the boundaries. You know what I mean? He's not a safe playing guy, but he does it in such a respectful, kind of calculated way that it's like, all right, I'm down for the journey.
That's right. Yeah, he doesn't play it safe. And shameless plug, guys, we did a Court of Owls episode. It's actually 4 mini episodes. Go ahead and check that out. I'm going to link it right there. All right.
Shameless plug number 2. We did a Boxes and Brews Nocterra.
Check that out too. I'll link it up there too. All right. So let's move on to the art style. We had a comic veteran, like I said, Tony Daniels on it. Why don't you lead us off, Nick? Let's talk a little bit about the art.
I liked it. I liked the, even though it's pitch black outside, when you see the city lit up, it looked dystopian, but you still didn't miss any details or anything like that. The creatures look super scary, like when they were like bred with other creatures or with the gums, or spoiler alert, gums are big in this, so floss. Good action. The guy at the end was creepy. Like at the end, that end scene really creeped me out. But I'm here for it. I think he worked well with Tony Allen, maybe not as well as Capullo yet, but that was like a historic run. And to Will's point before, like, I'm just glad he's not going the way of Frank Miller, where he kind of like just went off his rocker and I'll write whatever I want, even if it sucks. I'll still buy anything Frank Miller writes.
Right. Like, we'll still buy anything Scott Snyder writes. But he's finally gained my trust. I can say my trust has been.
I don't think he lost it, but it was
touch and go for a while.
It was, yeah. Like death metal was touch and go. It was hit and miss.
I bought death metal out of sheer loyalty.
Yeah. So I got an entire run of Justice League just out of sheer loyalty, like 50 issues.
Yeah.
Justin, you want to talk about the art?
The art is, I actually with the purchase of the Kickstarter, you got a PDF version of Inside. That's the reason why I didn't crack it open. But I was skimming through the PDF and everything, and from there you actually see all the black and whites of all of Daniel's work. And even though I love the coloring and everything that's in issue 1, I would have loved if they went through this whole series in black and white, because number one, you have that whole focus on, losing, the sunlight and everything. So darkness plays a huge role in this. And I feel like they actually could have done a lot more with that, with just the very plain scale of staying in black and white. But the artwork is very detailed. It doesn't seem campy at all. It really just it's establishing the world that I think which is exactly what Snyder was picturing as he was kind of writing it. So I think they're going to work well as a team. I think that this is a home run in making, and I'm kind of excited to see, like I said, especially when the action starts kicking in, just to see how detailed it gets, because you can see in all the backgrounds in this, like every little thing is meticulous with Daniel. So I think we're in for a treat on this one.
Yep. And Eric?
I love Daniel's work. It's sharp, it's clean. I think the colors in this book are fantastic. All the neons and day glow, everything.
Pops.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It feels too clean for me, and it's too clean. It's too sexy. It's too even like the grandpa is handsome, and I'm just like, this is like a fucked up world and fucked up people, and I don't know. It's very pretty. I enjoyed the art. I just wasn't sure that it was the best fit, and maybe I'm just spoiled with like the Capullo and everything else, or Jock or anybody else that's worked with Snyder. But it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's actually, like you said, it is really nice. It's really polished. It's beautiful.
It's slick. That's what I kept thinking. It's slick. It's like a Campbell, all of his stuff. It's like, I get it, but it's kind of a little soulless.
Yeah. And there is a lot of contrast, I think, right? Because it's a world that's in darkness, but in order to survive, you need the light. And so there's like a lot of neons and phosphorus based lights, and it's all about showing lighting in different ways, or different ways light can illuminate the dark. So I like the contrast of it going on there. And the colors, they're nice. The color palette is nice. It matches the tone. And if we're talking about the pencils, yeah, they're beautiful. I think Snyder bringing somebody like Tony Daniel along, it's going to show his work in a different way, because I think Tony Daniel is a different artist. Like, he's worked with Jock, and like you said, he's worked with Capullo. Capullo, at times you can see a little bit more of the pencil work, and Jock is just, it feels like more like etchings and scratchings and stuff. And then you come with somebody like Daniel, and he's very real, but very real in like the edges are all polished, they're circular or round, as opposed to jagged edges. Yeah. So it's a different style, but I enjoyed it. I liked it, and I had no complaints. Now that Eric said what he said, now I'm going to read it and be like, this is too nice. But yeah, no, it's a really, really well drawn book. I like it. I like it. All right. So let's do final thoughts, guys. Just shoot them out if you have a final thought. No? Okay.
I'm happy with both. I hope both succeed so I can get to Will's point, John Wick 5.5. And I hope that this launches Snyder's label, where we get more good work from people under Snyder.
Yeah, I think that's what's more exciting for me. Is like, I think Nocterra is a great book and I'll follow it, but I'm more excited about the future potentially for what that house is, and maybe who Snyder can potentially bring up in the world to tell us even more exciting stories. There's a whole other generation behind him that needs to be heard.
And my outlook for the series, like I said, for me, it kind of started off a little bit slow because they're trying to paint the picture, but I feel like it has so much room to grow. There's so many avenues that he can kind of take this thing into, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see Snyder kind of be refreshed and come into, like, you know, in his own comfort zone. He has no restrictions, so the world is his oyster on this one. So I'm really excited to see how a different side of Snyder than what we're used to seeing.
Right. Yeah, and I'm excited too. I think he, like Eric pointed out, he does better. Well, and I Justin also, he does better when these characters are his own, and it's not a superhero. And, you know, this is something that he has no fear. And I think he's more comfortable, right, with something that he created and messing that up and then messing up the Justice League. So I'm really excited for this series as well. I think it was really well thought out. It was really well plotted because we kind of have the background of the main character, and now we're going into the future, right? Like, and we also feel, or I think I feel now for these characters. Like, I care about them. I know where they came from, and I want to know where they're going. Like, I care about the dynamics and the relationships that have already formed. So, for me, it's a book that I care about already, issue 1. So I'm looking forward to see what happens in issue 2. And as for the other guy, Brzrkr, I love some mindless comic with some action, but that also has, you know, a secondary story behind this, right? Because there is a history behind the Brzrkr, and we're going to find that out eventually down the road too. So
it's also
it starts.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, let's try that again, Eric. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna joke that it apparently starts 60,000 years ago.
Right.
That's where they flash us back to at the end. Right?
Let me, not to spoil anything, but there's a baby with teeth.
Yeah, and he bites his mom's nipple off. It looks like.
Do babies have teeth?
No,
Like,
that's not a thing.
Okay, that's the only
But
thing.
if you're a berserker, I guess that's, or he just has very strong gums.
Right. Oh yeah, rock solid gums, no gingivitis. He would survive in Nocterra.
He would work in Nocterra. Yeah.
Yeah.
No periodontal disease here.
Nope. All right, guys. So I think that's it. Justin, say bye.
Adios.
Eric. Nick.
Jesus.
Myself. Boom. Guys, this was Cocktails and Comics. This was a quick hitter. We hit you up with the hottest books this week. Peace out. Cheers.
Salute.
What is your profession?
You know the first question when it's Cocktails and Comics, gentlemen. What do we drink? Let's take that again. What do we?
How much have you been drinking?
I already drank. So
What happened?